Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Well, it is currently 2:39 p.m. on this very rainy, what is today? Wednesday afternoon. And my allergies are killing me. I'm getting ready to head in here to Starbucks. I was gonna do a review, but when I was sitting over there getting ready to film the beginning of it, there were so many cars at Starbucks. Now, there's not as many cars at Starbucks, but I think I'll just wait till after I'm done vlogging to do my review. I need some coffee badly.
Welcome to Starbucks. What can we get started for you?
Could I please get a venti iced blonde Americano?
All right.
With an extra shot and 2 Splenda.
Gotcha. You getting anything else today, Peter?
No, that's it.
All right. We'll see you up here.
All right, thanks. I went to bed last night so early. This actually would have been a perfect time to do the review. I went to bed so early last night. What time did Alex go to bed? Alex went to bed at like 10:50, I think when I was looking at my phone. Because I said, you're going to bed really, really early. His allergies were killing him yesterday. And he came home and he was so tired. And so I went downstairs and I had watched the night before half of the first episode of Canada's Drag Race. And I'm now on to, since I'm caught up with RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. Do you guys see my eyes? I mean, like, it's allergy central in Indiana today. Since I got caught up on RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under, I started Canada's Drag Race. And I was on the first episode. So I finished the second episode, which I had like, what, a half an hour of that? And then I came upstairs and went to bed. So I was asleep. Well, I was in bed by like 11:30. Then I woke up at like 4:30. I had the most bizarre dream. I went to like a movie with all of these people that I had gone to high school with. I think it was because I was talking to a friend of mine after my meeting yesterday, and we just kind of like ended up having this like crazy long conversation. And I think that's why I had this dream. But anyway, I had this dream about me going to the movie, this movie theater that, anyway, and it was a bunch of us, and it was like friends of mine from high school. And then we were just like standing out there talking forever. And I woke up and it just like, I don't know why, it wasn't scary or anything like that. It just kind of caught me off guard. I don't know who is calling me. But like I was like up, and so I was gonna go vlog, but I was like, if I go vlog now at like 4:30 in the morning, I will. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
474.
All right, here you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was like, I'll come back home at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I won't be able to go back to bed, and then I'll sleep the entire day, which I didn't want to do. So I went downstairs and I had a glass of water and came back upstairs and like fell right back asleep. Then Alex left this morning, and then I went back to sleep for a little bit longer. I had to move my car, and then I got up and was just like doing stuff around the house. My allergies have been driving me crazy all morning long. My eyes have been itching. My nose has been running. I've been sneezing like crazy. And, there's a lot going on in there right now. So, anyway, I was like, should I do these videos at home first? I was like, you know what? I really want some coffee first. So I was like, I'm gonna go get coffee. I'll do my review video first, but like I said, when I pulled in here, there were a lot of cars in line, which is interesting because there's just one car behind me.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Sam. Have a good one. Bye. So that was my night last night. I actually had planned to vlog last night, like right after my meeting, but I didn't. Ooh, that was full, right to the brim. I don't even know if it's actually gonna close all the way yet. So picked up Tanya Jean last night after I made a bunch of videos. We went to our meeting. It was actually a beautiful evening last night in Indianapolis. It was like upper 60s. And had a great meeting last night. Talked about honesty. And like we split up into small groups. And so Tanya and I's group, there were 6 of us in the group. It was a really small group. So it was Tanya and I and 4 other people. But it was a really, really good meeting, and it was something that I needed to hear and talk about. Whoever that was left a voicemail. It's interesting. I was talking about last night, I shared in the meeting, where is my lip balm? I shared in the meeting that in terms of like honesty, you know, I think that when we get sober, our concept of honesty is like lying about superficial stuff, you know? And many of us, as addicts and alcoholics, grew up just, you know, kind of being liars. Which is why, if you're somebody that's been sober like me, like honesty is like such an important thing, like rigorous honesty, which is the term that we talk about in sobriety. But then over time, like the definition of kind of like honesty changes, and it's really about telling on yourself and where you're at that moment, like emotionally, and being honest about that. Because if you think about it, many of us aren't honest about how we are, how we're feeling. And I have had friends of mine that have taken their lives in sobriety, you know, partly, I'm sure, because they weren't being honest about how they were, and it's just so sad and devastating, you know? And when I came back into the rooms, this is what I shared last night. Let me turn this air conditioning on. When I came back into the room, so I didn't go to meetings for 4 years, and I've talked about that, and I didn't have any emotional sobriety, and I didn't have any spiritual foundation. And finally, when I came back in, I was going to like 14 meetings a week. I was going to like a noon meeting and an 8 o'clock meeting like every day. And I was really like in it to win it. And at night, like just driving home or driving around, instead of listening to audiobooks, you know, back or music, I would listen to speaker leads. And speaker leads are when somebody like tells their story, right? About what it was like, what happened, and what it's like for them now. And they're called speaker meetings when people share. And there's some people that are famous for going all over the country and sharing, and those are called circuit speakers. And they speak at like conventions and things like that. I don't know why my eyes are kind of being affected today by the lack of sun, I should say. Alex put all of our cushions out, and I was sitting there this morning at 4:30 in the morning, and I was like just sitting right there on the couch in the living room, and I was like, is that rain? And I looked outside, and it was like pouring down rain, and our cushions were soaked, and I was like, oh man, now they're gonna have to dry out, which takes forever with those cushions. The 3 pillows that I got at Meijer, I quickly like got and put into our thing, but it would have taken me too long to put everything else in there, and they were already soaked, so. But anyway, I remember listening to this lead, and this woman was talking about how she was going to this meeting every day, and that this woman would ask her, like, how are you doing? And I was going to a meeting, and this was very similar to me, and she was like, how are you doing? How are you doing? And she'd say, oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing fine, you know, every day. And she wasn't doing fine. Like, she was miserable, you know? And I was too at that point that I heard this lead. And I had this woman who's a friend of mine. She's actually the friend of mine that says, if nobody else told you this today, I love you. And every day I would see her, and, you know, she'd say, how are you doing today? And I'd be like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, you know, things are going good. And even though I came back into the rooms, things were not good, things were not fine. I still felt like, I felt very alone. You know, I had all this time of sobriety, but I really felt like a newcomer, which was hard to explain to anybody. Alex didn't really understand my sobriety at that time. It just was difficult, you know. It was a hard period of my life. I was missing out on any of kind of like social life whatsoever, of being part of like the friend group that I had stopped going out. So to some degree, I missed that. But at the same time, I knew that I had no business being there. So I was just going to meetings. I was going to a lot of meetings. Tanya had never stopped going to meetings, so she wasn't going to 14 meetings a week. She was going to, you know, 2, 3, 4 meetings a week. So I was seeing Tanya, but I wasn't seeing her the way that like I wanted to. And my sponsor at the time, I loved him, but I wasn't getting what I felt like I needed. And so it just was a tough time, you know? And I was going through the motions because I knew that that's what I needed to do. I'm talking about the beginning of me coming back in. Like, I was going through the motions of what I needed to do, but I didn't feel like there's a saying that when you first get sober, like everything's great, like, you know, like you're making dinner and cleaning the house and you feel so positive and so good, and you know, you're doing all these great things, and it's called the pink cloud, basically, right? That you're riding this pink cloud, because it's like the first time that you've been sober in a long time. But what can happen is that pink cloud can go crashing away. Well, when I came back in, I don't know that I necessarily had any pink cloud. I just think I was very honest about, like, with myself in my head, but I wasn't sharing how I was feeling with others. Like, I was scared. I didn't really know what I was doing. I felt very alone. It just was, you know, I was meeting all new people. So I heard this lead. And then I remember I went into that meeting the next day, and my friend said to me, she said, how are you doing, when we were leaving the meeting? And I said, you know, I'm not doing very good. And we stood out there and we talked for a really long time. And she didn't fix it, she didn't take it away, but just the ability to stand there and be able to be that rigorously honest with somebody about what I was going through and how alone I felt, and that, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing with my life, and I was scared, and, you know, like, it was really helpful to me. And it really, it started out for me in coming back, that piece right there really allowed me to start being honest about everything, about my mom passing away and being angry about that, and, you know, and marital issues and whatever. And I think the thing that, like, if I could ever get anybody to understand one thing about addiction, that, like, if they don't understand anything about addiction, is that it has really very little to do with the drink or the drug. Like, addiction has really nothing to do with that. Our basic text tells us that, you know, like, it is but a symptom of the disease of addiction. And what that means is, it's really about the rest of it. It's really about who we are, that we live from a point of selfishness and self-centeredness, which has to change to a point of selflessness. And, you know, it's really about finding a higher power, cleaning up the wreckage of your past, and doing service for others, and, you know, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of all of that, being a demonstration of what that life looks like for other people, you know? And the first principle of recovery is honesty. And, I mean, it's the foundation that all has to be built on. Well, I think that there's a misconception that honesty is about not lying to people about how much I've drank or used, right? Well, that is part of it. Like, that's when you first come in. But later, it's about honesty about, you know, where are your feet today? I have a friend of mine, I shared that on here not too long ago, that I love when she says that. Where are your feet today? Like, look down. Your feet are there, right? Like, you're right here today. Like, let's not borrow trouble for tomorrow. Let's not sit there and ruin our lives over yesterday. Like, where are your feet today? They're right in front of you. You're in today, right? You can't do anything about the stuff that happened in the past. Let's not borrow trouble from the future. Where are your feet today? And it's the same thing, I think, with fear. I mean, we talk about how, like, addiction is, you know, formed in 100 forms of fear, you know, and it's like not knowing what our lives are going to look like, or I don't know, I just had a lot of fear when I first came back in, you know. I don't even know if I understood really what it was about. And then over time, by going to the same meetings and meeting all the people, and I would walk in and every day I would see the same people, you know, it started becoming safe for me again. And that's what my home group is for me, you know, it's safe when I go there. I was talking to actually a friend of mine that I hadn't seen him in like probably like 2 or 3 years. And so I saw him last night, and like when I walked in, I saw him sitting there, and he hasn't been, and this was his home group for a long time. And I mean, we weren't super close, but I didn't know if he had moved or he had gone back out or whatever. And, you know, I was talking to him, and life got difficult for him for a while. You know, and I was telling him, I said, when I came back in, so our home group has a sister meeting, that's a speaker meeting on Sunday evenings. And I don't typically go to it, but I did for a long time. So, I said I was going to that meeting before I came back to our home group. And one of these guys, these older guys that had kind of been like a mentor to me, you know, when I had, not a sponsor, but just, you know, I looked up to him when I had first gotten sober. He like was the chairperson of that meeting when I first came back in. And so I would see him every Sunday night. But I could just come in there and just sit in the back of the room, you know. I didn't have to like participate actually, you know, and shake hands and, you know, just, I didn't have to do all that. So, but I remember he used to say to me, you know, when are you coming over on Tuesday nights? When are you coming over? Oh, I said, oh, I will one of these times. And I was so scared, you know. I was so afraid that I was going to walk into my Tuesday night home group and that they were going to be, oh, Guns N' Roses is coming? Oh my God, when? September or something. I said, I would love to see Guns N' Roses. But I was like, you know, I didn't want to go to, I was afraid of what people would say, you know, like, oh, you've been gone a long time or whatever, and people didn't, you know, people were so friendly, and they were just like, we're happy to have you back. We're just so happy that you made it back and that you're back, and, you know, nobody was mean about it, nobody was sarcastic or rude, everybody just was super nice. And, you know, I was telling him that, and I just gave him a hug, and I said, we love you here, you know, like, so last night was good. And then Tanya and I and 2 of our friends stood in the parking lot until like, I took a picture and put it on my Instagram because the sky was so beautiful. We stood there for like an hour and talked outside. It was so nice. And it was just fun to catch up, you know, and see people. When you first get sober and you like, and this was very true of me coming back too, you know, and I went to a clubhouse. So there are recovery clubhouses. Like in Indianapolis, I think we have 5 or 6 in the Indianapolis area. And they have meetings like they'll have like a 7 a.m. meeting, a 9 a.m. meeting, a noon meeting. Like, it depends all afternoon. Some of them have coffee shops that actually sell food and cheeseburgers and coffee and all kinds of stuff. Some of them don't. But they're just kind of like places that are really good for people in early sobriety. If you're in early sobriety and you need a place to hang out, find one of these clubhouses. Most major cities have them. And somebody actually just reached out to me yesterday and said if you ever come, I can't remember where they said, but they said there was like a gay recovery clubhouse. But when I first got sober, there was one that's like central Indianapolis that I used to go to all the time, like every single day. And I mean, I didn't have a car when I first got sober, so I would just get a ride there. And then I would stay there all day for like meeting after meeting after meeting. And I didn't even have like money. Like my dad didn't like, I was not working and my dad was not giving me any money. So I remember the guy that worked in the coffee shop there, he would make me free cheeseburgers. He was so nice to me. And people would take me later, you know, like Perkins or whatever, and they'd be like, you know, get whatever you want. And I always felt so embarrassed about it. And I can, you know, like now it's like such an honor to be able to take somebody out and like everybody fight for their bill. You know what I mean? Because so many people did it for us when we got sober. And it's just like a cool payback kind of thing, you know, that you get the honor of doing that, you know? I started telling this story about a sober friend of mine. But anyway, to go back to what I was saying about the clubhouse and stuff. Yeah, the clubhouse was so great for me when I first got sober because I could just hang out there, you know, and then I could bring like a book and in between meetings, talk to people. It was a good way for me to get to know people, although I was very, very shy in early sobriety. Like I really, unless somebody started talking to me, I didn't really talk to them. But it was a good way for me to get out of my comfort zone, you know, and like just sit there and like read a book or, you know, they always had like in the lounge area, they always had like a TV on and stuff, and I could just sit there and whatever, smoke cigarettes and drink coffee, and people come in and talk to you, and some people be like, hey, let's start up a meeting. We got 5 or 6 people here. Let's start up a meeting. You know, it was cool. And then when I came back in, after the 4 years that I didn't go to meetings, that was like, we were trying to figure it out last night, because my one friend that I was talking to, he just celebrated, I think like 8 years, and I came in probably six months or a year before he got sober, so it would have been like 9 years ago. I think it would have been about 9 years ago that I came back in, yeah. So anyway, I started going every day to a different clubhouse, and every day I was at the noon meeting and the 8 o'clock meeting, and I would get there at like an hour before, and I would stay like half an hour later, go out to lunch with people. I came back in, and I really suggest this for anybody in sobriety. Like it makes a difference. It makes all the difference. I had heard this lead, I think like literally the first or second night. I don't know when, but it was real soon. It had to have been like the first or second night of me coming back in. There, I just was listening to a speaker lead online, and this woman said that it was important to sit like, she was like making a reference to like a hay wagon, you know, like we talk about being, you know, falling off the wagon kind of thing. And she said it's hard to fall off the wagon when you're sitting in the middle. And she said, get involved, be in the middle of this program, put your hand out, introduce yourself to people over and over and over again, say hi to people, talk to people, get people's phone numbers, do service work, be of service to others, give people rides, you know, show up early, stay late, things like that. And I mean, these were all things that I already knew, right? Having been sober for a long time and hearing these things over and over and over again. But I never really did them before. And so when I came back in and I heard that so early on, that's what I did. And I started going to, you know, like I said, like 14 meetings a week. And I put my hand out and I introduced myself to people and I talked to people. And so I would walk in to like the noon meeting and everybody would be like, hey Peter, it's good to see you. Hey Peter, hey. And it felt so comforting, and it felt like I was a part of something in a way that I hadn't felt like in a long time. And it didn't feel like, oh, just somebody being like, I like your outfit out at the club. It was somebody that genuinely was happy to see me. And, you know, would say something to me like, oh my God, you know, when you were sharing about your mom the other day, like, that's so, you know, like, it was deeper. And I needed that deeper connection at that point in my life. Like, I needed that, you know? I had deeper connections in that parking lot of that clubhouse. There's a little gazebo outside we would all sit in and stuff. I had deeper conversations in that parking lot in 5 minutes than I had in the last 4 years out at a bar. True story, you know? And I loved it. I did it like every single day. That was my life. I got up and took a shower and I got coffee on the way and went to my meeting and hung out there, and then went to the 8 o'clock meeting. And then Friday nights, Alex and I had date night. So I think Friday night was the only night I did not go to a meeting. And then Saturday night, he would go out with friends, and then I would go to a candlelight meeting, actually. That was at like 10:30. And we would always go to like Steak and Shake afterwards, which was real fun. And then, I mean, there'd be like 12 of us at Steak and Shake. And then that candlelight meeting closed down after like 2 years because it just didn't have enough participation. People stopped going to it. And then on Sundays, I would go to the 11 o'clock meeting, and then it was till 12, I think. And I would come home, and we would go to brunch after that. There have been periods of my life when there's a service position that the meetings are the first Sunday of every month at like 9 a.m. So there's been periods in my life where I've also like had to do that on Sunday mornings, and then I would come home and Alex and I would go to brunch. But for that period, that was like 2 years that I was coming back in and stuff, every Sunday was at that 11 o'clock meeting. It was such a big meeting. We had to bust it into 2 rooms. It was such a fantastic meeting. It was so spiritual. And so anyway, loved that meeting, and then came home and had brunch, and then Alex and I would just like hang out all day on Sunday together. And then at 8 o'clock, I would go to that speaker meeting, and then we would start our week over. And it was good, and it was homey, and that my life at that point, you know, and I felt grounded. And I think that's why like nesting and stuff is so important to me, to have like a safe place, like a safe, you know, spot, safe home. I think that's why, like, you know, I don't know, I'm really excited now because like meetings are starting to open up. They, like last night in our meeting, they announced a bunch of meetings that are opening up again. So meetings are opening up again, and I'm happy about that. I'm excited because I'm ready to start trying some new meetings that I have never been to before. I'm excited about that. I don't know how my battery, this is a brand new battery that I just took out of the charger. It is already at the halfway mark. I really don't understand that, but I have another battery with me, thank God, because I have to do a review too. I remember my one friend, she and I would go get like these bagel sandwiches like all the time at this bagel shop in Noblesville after a meeting. And sometimes we just drive around. Sometimes all of us would go get coffee. It just was fun, you know? What's so funny is, like, I totally have the time to do that now. Like, it would be nothing for me to get up every single day and go to a noon meeting. And sometimes I do, like sometimes if I'm feeling like it, I'm like, but I'll go to a different, there's a closer noon meeting closer to me. I don't go to the ones I used to go to. And I kind of miss it sometimes because there's where a lot of like my friends and stuff go. And like, it's so weird. It's like, even though I'm active today, I don't like to go to meetings by myself. I mean, I would go to like my home group meeting by myself, and I would go to like, there's 2 other meetings that I typically go to that I would go by myself. I don't have a problem with that. But like, to go to a brand new meeting, or to go to a meeting that I haven't been to in a really long time by myself, that makes my social anxiety is like, I have to work through that, you know? So that might be good for me. Maybe that's something I need to start doing, is getting up and hitting that noon meeting on a daily basis. You guys, Dunkin' Donuts has, I don't even think you can go inside, so I don't know how you get them, but Dunkin' Donuts, I think, has cups now. Like, these kind of cups. And I want them. And they say, like, DD on them. Oh, what was that show that Melissa and I used to watch back in the day? We lost. Bring it on. DD4L. DD4L. Do you guys remember that show? What was her name? Diana? Oh my God, I loved that show. They had like the dance team. Oh, that was so good. It's sometimes strange to me, like Tanya and I were talking a little bit last night on our way home about back in the day drinking, you know? It's so weird to me sometimes to even think about, like, me drinking back in the day. Like, it seems like it's been so long. Like, so long. I mean, it has been. I mean, it's been 26 years, right? But it's like I don't even... What's weird is that, like, some days, like, I can smell it. Or, like, taste what it would taste like. Where were we the other day? Tony and I walked in somewhere. Like, right when we walked in, they had liquor right in front. It wasn't Meyer. Was it Meyer? It was Meyer, because she was going to get candy for her grandkids, and it was on the same aisle as, like, where the liquor is. And we were walking by it. And I said something about what I would drink, and I said, and that would be for you, because Tanya loved tequila back in the day. I hated tequila. I could, but anyway, when I said something about the tequila, I like could immediately smell like what that would smell like. Like if, you know, like if you had it like in a glass, I could, like, it brought it right back to me what it smelled like. That's weird. I just remembered this. Maybe this is what was weird. We were talking about this last night. I don't know how I just remember this, but in my dream of going to the movie theater, we were standing in the parking lot and I was drinking beer, and it was like one of those old, I don't even know what the brand is, Miller Lite, I think. Is that what it is? It had the pull tab thing on it. And it just said light on it. Do you guys remember that? I was drinking that in my dream. That is so weird. And Tanya and I were talking about that last night. I don't really, like... It's hard to explain, but, like, once you get to a certain point of sobriety, I really, like, we were talking about this last night, like, where would my story start? Where would my story have to start for me to go back out there, right? Like, because they talk about how, like, relapsing starts long before you ever pick up the drink. So, like, relapsing doesn't just start with you picking up and getting drunk or, you know, smoking weed or whatever. Like, it starts way before that. It starts with your thought process. So what has to happen that you start questioning whether or not you're an addict or an alcoholic? Is that what starts happening? You know, I mean, thankfully that hasn't happened to me, or if it has, maybe I've nipped it in the bud. I don't know. I think there has always, for me, there are 2 things, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but... like, there's always been a fear factor for me of being terrified of going back out there, because I really, truly do believe that I would lose everything that I had. And, you know, my friend said something last night about, they tell us that when we go back out there, within a very short amount of time, we end up just a little bit lower than when we came in here last. Well, when I came in here, my life was completely a mess. I can't imagine being a little bit under that. Like, I can't, I mean, what is that for me? Death? I mean, I don't know, you know? And I think that that unknowing is enough for me to stay sober. Like, it really does terrify me, even to this day. The other thing is, since then, I have been diagnosed with epilepsy. I think drinking or using would probably throw me into epileptic seizures, and I could possibly die from that. Plus, I don't know what my medicine would do on it, you know? But like, you know, put all of that aside, I very rarely, and I mean, I'm telling you right now, it's like, I mean, I look back at the lengths that I went to drink and use. It's baffling to me, you know? And, it's absolutely baffling to me, the lengths that I went to. And I loved to drink. I love to drink. I love to get high. I love to just, you know, eat pills and be gone and out of my head all day long. I love to do all of it together. I loved everything else, all the party stuff, you know? And I look back at that, and it's just like, it's like a completely different person. This is where I think the trick of early sobriety is. Like today, like my tape runs pretty quick in my head, so I wouldn't let this trip me up. But like in early sobriety, I think it really could have. Like today, like I've been wanting recently, my mom, when she passed away, she had a candle in her house, and it was like some red wine scent. It was like a Merlot or like a Cabernet. And I had been wanting a wine scent for a long time and a candle. And I had bought these candles for different people for Christmas. And one of the candles that I bought, and I ended up buying two by accident, so I kept one, was called But First Wine, and it was supposed to be like this red wine smell, right? And, did I get it for Caroline, or did I get it for Sarah? I can't remember. But it doesn't smell anything like that, right? Like in early sobriety, if somebody said to me, what do you think about having a candle that smells like Cabernet or whatever, you know, like even if I wasn't a huge wine drinker, I'd say I wouldn't suggest it, you know, because the smell alone could trigger you to want to drink. It could trigger me to want to drink at 26 years. I'm just probably not going to act on it, you know? Like, I'll tell you what's crazy is the thing that smells the best to me today is really a tap beer. Like, out of the tap. A cheap-ass beer out of the tap. I don't know why that's what, like, of all the things that I think about drinking, like, a beer is just what sounds good. But, you know, I never was the person that came home, mowed the lawn, and had a beer, either. Like, I never got to experience that. Like, I hear all these guys, these friends of mine, be like, oh, the thing I miss is at the end of the day, I'd come home and I'd have a beer, break open a beer. I never got to do that, you know? Well, there's a lot of things I didn't do, so if I start going through that list, sure, you know, it's gonna do that. But the thing that's funny is, I don't really crave today. I don't really, think to myself, God, I really like, I mean, not like how it was. I mean, not like I didn't think I was gonna make it through a day without drinking. I mean, I used to crave so bad in early sobriety that I really didn't think I was gonna make it through the hour. I really did not think like I could make it through the hour. You know, but for the grace of God, I did. I don't know how. I really don't. You know, I'd call people and call people and call people until somebody would talk to me. But before that, all the times I had tried to quit on my own, that was what got me back to drinking again, was I would make it a day or two, and I would be white knuckling it, and I had no support, and I'd sit there and I'd think to myself, oh my God, like, you know, a beer sounds so good, I just want a beer, you know, whatever. No, you can do this, you can do this. But I had no support system, right? Like, I had no meeting I was going to, I had no counselor I was talking to, I had nobody to call. You know, my friends, if I called them, they'd say, yeah, you probably need to quit drinking, but they didn't, you know, they hadn't been there. And so eventually what would happen in my head is I would say to myself, you know, the lie is you want it so bad that you tell yourself, we'll just do it tomorrow. It's really not about any intention of doing it tomorrow. The I'll do it tomorrow is just a lie we tell ourselves so that we can have it today. Whether that's with food, because I relate to that with food. Whether that's with food or anything else, right? So, yeah, it was hard. I don't know when, you know, my mom was somebody in sobriety that truly believed. I mean, the book tells us that the desire to use will be lifted from you. My mother truly believed, as a result of working 12 steps, having a higher power, turning her life and her will over to her, a higher power, she truly, truly believed, like beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the desire to use had been lifted from her. Like, she really believed that, like on a miracle level, it had been lifted from her. I don't know that I necessarily believe that. I mean, that's where people talk about being recovered, not in recovery, but there are a lot of people that are sober that will say, I am recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. My mother believed that. She really believed that she was recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. But I think for me, it's more about being in recovery, because it's as long as you continue to do these things, right? There was a period where I felt like the desire had been lifted from me. And then, like, Tanya and I would talk, and she'd say, not me. She'd say, I still think a beer sounds good on the boat. Or I still think, a margarita sounds good if we're, like, in Key West or something. And I think about it, and I think, well, that's true. Like, I mean, if I'm on a beach, I think, oh, God, a beer or a pina colada sounds good. But, I can just have a Diet Coke, But she would say, wasn't that the craving? Still at least thinking that it sounds good. And I don't know. But then I would have moments where it was like, I would really romance what that whole experience would be like. It wasn't just like a beer on the beach would be good. It would be like, I would really romance what that was like, Before I came back in, I think I shared this on here, there was, like, Alex and I were going out to clubs and stuff, and getting VIP sections for free, and they would always, like, if a night was hosted by, like, Grey Goose or something, they would give us, like, a Grey Goose bottle at the end, like some big one, whatever. And this was a really scary moment for me. This was right before I came back in. Alex had to go out of town for 2 nights to Chicago for this, like, training for work. And, I was like, that car is cute. And I was like, what is that? Like a BMW, like a small SUV or something? And it looks like a new Ford Escape. It's cute. But anyway, we had a bottle of Grey Goose in our freezer that was unopened, that he had just, like, brought home and put in there, and he was gonna, like, give it to somebody as a gift or whatever. And he actually, it's interesting because he asked me the other night, because he's got, like, 4 bottles of champagne on the counter to, like, give out to people. And he was like, is that bothering you? I said, babe, no. And he was like, are you sure? He was like, because I was going to get a case of Trulies for the summer and just put it in the refrigerator. I said, babe, I made it through a whole year of lockdown on COVID with Trulies in the refrigerator. It's not going to bother me if you want to have. But he's so considerate that he asks, and so anyway, but that weekend, and like Tanya and I were talking about this last night. She's like, if my head is going to a place of I want to use, it's fine that I pick up the phone and I call somebody, and it's fine that I make it through that moment and I don't pick up. But that's a red flag warning sign that I need to go do some inventory and really figure out what's going on with me, because my desire to use is the end stage. I cannot believe this battery is flashing already at 40 minutes. I've got to go buy new batteries, you guys. If I had if I had different shorts, I've got my sweat shorts on, or I would go and get them today. But anyway, well, I'll just talk until it dies and then I'll replace the battery. But anyway, she was like, that's when I think that we need to be doing real inventory, is when, and I was like, yeah, I agree, is when we get to a point where, I mean, if you're And I haven't felt that way in a very long time. But if you're 21, I mean, I don't know what happened to my friend that had 21 years sobriety and she went back out and gave her entire life back, you know? Lost her relationship with her kids, lost her marriage, lost her house, ended up sleeping on her drug dealer's house after 6 months of using. How does that happen? 21 years of sobriety. Well, she stopped going to meetings. She didn't have a sponsor. She stopped being active. She stopped hanging out with people in recovery. She started making excuses. You know, that's how it happens. That's why I still go to meetings. That's why, because it's not just about the drinking or the using. It's about who are we inside, you know? And Tanya and I were talking about that, and Tanya's like, I think that's when, you know, you have to be willing to do that inventory to see what is going on with me that's getting me to a point where I want to pick up, or I'm even entertaining that idea. Not just beer sounds good on the beach, but walking it all the way through, you know? So this was before I came back in, but Alex had this bottle of Grey Goose in the freezer, and I thought to myself, because when I used to drink back in the day, I just unplugged my phone. We didn't have cell phones. So he had called me and said, you know, we had talked and he had said goodnight and everything like that. And he was going to bed because I knew, because he had the convention thing the next morning early. And I thought, I'll just hide my cell phone and my car keys and I'll drink this. I mean, I stood there in the kitchen and this actually went through my head. And I thought, I'll just turn on one of my favorite movies and get absolutely just like wasted drunk. Mind you, okay, this is what, 13 years sober or something like that, and 14 years sober, and I'll just get wasted drunk, and then tomorrow I'll go buy another Grey Goose bottle just exactly like this and throw out this used one. That was my plan. It wasn't my plan to go back out and ruin my life. It wasn't my plan to go out and use everything in the world, which probably would have ended up happening. It was just to use for one night, and then I guess lie for an eternity about not having drank. I got so scared in that moment. I don't even know how I got through it. I really don't. But I got so scared in that moment. I was like, because I could actually do that. I was capable of doing that, you know? It's like, damn. It's pretty terrifying. I have to say, in my, 26 years, I haven't had many moments like that. I really haven't, thankfully, but for the grace of God, I have not had many moments where I've really entertained drinking. I've had a few. People ask me all the time. Okay, I'm back. I had to find a little area to pull in. Pulled into this little neighborhood over here. I thought it said Pebblebrook, but I guess it says Palmbrook. Palmbrook Boulevard. It does say Pebblebrook. Oh. the street and the neighborhood are called two different things. Anyway, people always ask me like about marijuana and what I think, and they're like, about the legalization of it. It's like always a big hot topic that people want to ask addicts and alcoholics. I don't know why. But I can only speak for this addict and alcoholic. I don't know about others. Like, that's their business and what they do. But, and I can only share my experience, strength, and hope. I am 100% for the decriminalization of marijuana. We are incarcerating people for failed drug screens, and I mean the recidivism rate in Indiana for women, like back when I worked in treatment, I think it was something like 80% of women reoffended on failed drug screens for marijuana, and that's like kids that are being taken, out of the home and put in foster care, and women that we're paying to incarcerate for failed drug screens for marijuana. It's ridiculous to me, I know people that smoke pot, and it's for them like having a cocktail in the evening. It's like not an issue for them. For this alcoholic and addict, I smoked pot all day, every day. All day, every day. And I have to believe that it would be no different even if it was legal, I mean, alcohol is legal, and I don't go into liquor stores, I would have to believe that it would be the same way for me, in edibles, or what is going on here? Nobody wants to go? Okay. I would have to believe that it would be the same way for me, whether it was smoking weed or edibles or whatever, So I don't think I can do it, because I think that's living in the lie, like my sponsor says, you know, when we start telling ourselves that we can do things we can't, putting ourselves in situations we shouldn't be in, things like that. Well, that's definitely a situation I shouldn't be in. But I don't pass judgment on those that do. That's their business, you know. I can't tell somebody else how to live their life or how to live their truth, you know, like that's not for me. Like, it's always interesting. People always ask me about this California sobriety thing, right? And it's like, I guess the confusion for me is that part of the definition to me of alcohol, being alcoholic or being an addict, is being powerless over drugs or alcohol. So if I'm powerless over drugs and alcohol, if I really truly believe that, and these are people that don't work 12-step programs, so I understand that, right? But if I'm truly powerless over drugs and alcohol, then any kind of moderation of that would not work for me. Therefore, this California sobriety wouldn't work for me. This moderative, having a drink here and there, smoking weed here and there, that would not work for me, because I'm an all or nothing kind of person. I mean, that's kind of the epitome of addiction to me, is I'm all in, right? Like, if I'm gonna have a drink, I'm gonna have 50. It's like 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. So I don't know how that works for people, but I don't judge them either. But if, like, the way I look at it is, if you can moderatively drink or use whatever, are you really an addict or an alcoholic? Like, I don't know. Like, for me, that's to me part of the definition. But like I said, like, it's not my business to, you know, I don't understand it. But I don't have to understand it if it works for somebody else, you know? I mean, the day is gonna come when we federally have, you know, like, it's approved everywhere. The day is gonna come when Indiana, one of the most conservative states, has, you know, cannabis shops and things like that, and that's just gonna be another place I can't go. It's gonna be another thing I can't participate in. I don't, you know, when we go places where it's legal, I don't go to those places. You know, it's just, for me, it doesn't work. And I know that, and I think it's just about being aware of those things, you know? I think when you have lived a while sober and the promises have come true, and you start seeing all the blessings that come as a result of being sober, if you're actually working, doing the deal, if you're actually doing the work, you know. Oh shoot, I'm gonna take this box of stuff to my friend. I started cleaning out my kitchen, and I have this box of stuff for her that I washed, and I'm out here by her house. I should have taken the stuff over there, but when you start, you know, really doing the deal and doing the work, like, I have to say, in the last probably 2 to 3 years, in working with my sponsor now that I have done more work, more inventory. I have done a deeper dive on myself in the last 3 years than I did the previous 23 years of sobriety. And it has made all the difference. I mean, it is like, I am such a believer that the harder you work, the more you get out of something. I'm a real believer in that. You know, like, if you want to be the best runner, get up every single day and force yourself to run and stuff. Like, I really do believe that. Why do I not apply it to every area of my life, like my health and fitness and weight loss? Good question. You know, it was interesting because I don't remember who left this comment on my vlog, but it was a really powerful comment for me. Do you know how sometimes people will say something to you and it's not necessarily like, it can just be like you hear it at a certain moment and it's like, how they say it, how they, you know, whatever, it's just like so powerful to you. Somebody said in the video that I was talking about, like, weight loss and trying to get healthy, they said something to the effect of, like, I have no doubt that you can do this if you put the same energy that you've put into your recovery and your mental health. You'll have the same results with your weight and health. And I thought, God, they're so right. Like, if I just have the same mindset of just, this is something that I have to do, and this is just what I'm gonna do, that everything would change literally overnight, right? You know? I mean, sobriety, I didn't get 26 years overnight. It was one day at a time, you know? And it was putting one foot in front of the other. It's why they say, like, the person that gets up earliest in the morning is the one that has the most sobriety. I mean, it's like, you know, I don't know why that comment, like, really struck me so hard, but it was like, in hearing it that way, it was kind of validation, like, you've done this before, you can do it again, just in a different way, and applying the same principles, you know? But I am a believer in that. The more you put into something, the more you get out of it, you know, and that has been witnessed and evidence to me, or witnessed to me, I guess, in the last couple years, you know, with the harder that I've worked, I've just, it's the payoff emotionally and spiritually has just been profound. And that's where it has, like, very little, like, to do with, it's not about the drinking or the using, you know, because if it were, then I'd be back at day one. So anyway, about all that, I don't know why I got on that long topic today, but it was a great meeting last night, and it was good to see people, and Tanya and I always have super deep conversations on the way home from meetings. And then I listened to a little bit, it is so cold in here, I have the air conditioning on the lowest possible that it'll go. And then I listened to a little bit of my book that I'm listening to, which I'm listening to Pumpkin by Julie Murphy, who wrote Dumplin'. It is so good, you guys. It is, I forgot how much I missed Julie Murphy. So it's about this gay kid in high school in Clover City, which is where all the Dumplin' takes place in the second one. I don't know why I can never remember what the second one is called, but it's about Millie Millichak, because she actually has kind of like a cameo in this one, like right at the beginning. Well, not right at the beginning, but kind of. She does the school announcements, but the second book is all about her, and she's in the first book as well. And so this one's called Pumpkin, and it's about this kid. And his grandma calls him Pumpkin because he has this curly red hair and like real pale skin. And his sister, her name's Clementine, and he's gay and she's a lesbian, and they came out on the same day to their parents that are totally accepting and totally open-minded. And he's very sarcastic and kind of catty, which I love that Julie Murphy always paints these characters that are so honest, that they're almost kind of like, they're funny, but at the same time they can be kind of almost a little bit unlikable. Like Dumplin' was kind of mean at times. Willow Dean in the book Dumplin', she almost was kind of like not nice. I mean, you could excuse it away because of why she was not nice. Oh my God, you guys, it's the Chicken Mobile. I have to drive you by here and show you this. So this is a big deal in Indianapolis. People like rent this out for their, do you guys see it? Here, I want to show you. They rent this out for like their birthdays and stuff. Can you see it? The Chicken Mobile? It has a big chicken on the front of it. My one friend that married us, she's so bad. She was like, for her birthday one year, she wanted that Chicken Mobile so bad and nobody wanted to ride in it. Anyway, now I'm in this neighborhood and I don't know where I'm going, how to get out of here. What is this? Open free coffee. State Farm. No, thank you. I bet serial killers live there. This big sign out front says open free coffee. That sounds like a trap to me. I'm not going in there. But anyway, oh my God, it's in front of me. It's right in front of me, you guys, look. The Chicken Mobile, it says chickenlimo.com. Look at that, it's right in front of me. Oh my God. Okay, when it turns, I want you guys to see the whole thing here when it turns. Look at that, I love it so much. That is so hilarious. Okay, So, anyway, he, like, at the beginning of the book, he has this guy that he, like, makes out with, but it's supposed to be only physical. They're not supposed to have feelings for each other. And the guy's, like, in the closet, and he's real hunky and all this kind of stuff. He's, like, a football player. But he's, like, a year ahead of him, and he thought he'd get these football scholarships, and he didn't, so he goes to community college. And, like, okay, so this is how the book starts. Well, first of all, he's obsessed with this show called The Fiercest of Them All, which is supposed to be like RuPaul's Drag Race. And the one that he wants to win doesn't win. And then he's making out with this guy whose dad owns a gas station. And the guy says, I think that I want to tell you something. He's like, okay, what? And he's, like, real excited. And he's like, I think I want to come out, like, and be honest about, like, really what's going on with me. And so this pumpkin kid, his name's Waylon, he thinks he means, like, he wants to make them official. And he goes, okay. And he's like, are you sure? Like, I don't want to force you to do anything. He's like, no. He's like, I'm just really excited. Like, I met this guy at my community college library. And, I mean, this is totally how Julie Murphy's books are, right? And he's like, and he's so funny, and I really like it. And I think I want to make it official with him. And this kid's, like, pissed, right? And he, like, storms out. And he's like, but I thought we were only physical. And he's like, something about, I hope you're watching is the best thing that ever happened in your life, walks out the door or something like that. It's just, like, one tragedy after another. And then it's just so, it's so, I don't understand how Julie Murphy's books, first of all, are identified as young adult, because, like, the humor in it is almost kind of humor that you wouldn't get unless you were an adult, like you had been through some stuff, because it's like all of these poor characters are just, like, put through it, right? It's like nothing ever works for them in their lives. And so anyway, and it's just like one I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I highly recommend it. If you've read Dumplin' and you like Dumplin', well, if you've read Dumplin', you need to read the second one too, because the second one is really good. And then I don't remember what it's called, but this is the third one that has kind of similar, it takes place all in the same city. It's kind of like the Creekwood books by Becky Albertalli, like Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. It's kind of like that. She's got, like, all the same characters. I mean, it's a different group of friends for this one, but it takes place in the same town, and they're all aware of each other. Like, he's aware of Millie, and he's aware of, like, Willow Dean, although she hasn't made an appearance yet, but I know because somebody, I saw a review, said that Julie Murphy brings back all the same characters. It's really good. I'm, like, halfway through it already, so... And then and then I have to read, oh shoot, I need to start this soon. I need to read the true crime book for this month, for May, because our book, I guess I need to, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I guess I need to finish Pumpkin tonight, so that I can, tomorrow, I can do, what do you call it? The true crime book. Start it tomorrow, so I'll do that tomorrow. But anyway, that's what else has been going on with me. Our cushions are soaked. If you don't watch my Peter Does Stuff channel, you won't know this, but we have a new bird that has built a nest in my fern plant out front. Now, this is not Mrs. Birdie. This is Mrs. Birdie's sister, Gertie Birdie. And she's very protective of her babies, even more protective than Mrs. Birdie. She and her husband constantly are watching me and chirping and flying. It's funny because, like, they do talk to each other. They have to, because she'll fly, and, like, when I come out there, she sometimes stays up in there, but sometimes she flies out, and then she'll stand, like, stand on the top of, like, where our neighbor's house is, and then he'll come over, and then they'll just sit there and chirp back and forth. So I wonder what they're saying. But then she'll, like, swoop down and, like, come in, and then, like, swoop back out, and then she says something to him. She's like, wah, 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 wah. I love it. And on the back patio, Sammy the squirrel is coming back, and all of our birds are coming back there. I have not been feeding them on that squirrel table. I need to start feeding them again. I think I want to get... I can't believe this chicken limo is still in front of me. I think I want to get a, what do you call it? A new birdhouse, like bird feeder is what I think I want to get. Maybe one or two. I need to look online and see if there's any cool ones online. Alex is like, now you know, because you feed those squirrels and birds, like that's why all of these like sticker bushes like are growing. I go, really? Well, I don't feed them out front. We had worse sticker bushes out, or sticker weeds out front than we had in back. He's like, no, that's why. Those are seeds for that. I'm like, okay. I'm still gonna feed my birds and squirrels, just so you know. There are just some things that you have to understand if you are married to Peter Monn. I'm gonna feed my squirrels and birds, and I'm gonna always have dogs. People are like walking by. This is like the first time this has ever happened. I think a big part of it is the chairs, but people are walking by. Like our neighbors yesterday, she said to me, she goes, oh my God, the one woman that's like in charge of like the neighborhood landscaping, she just went on and on and on about how your front porch looks so nice. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited, thank you. And so I'm very happy that people are liking how nice it looks, because, you know, that's all that matters. But it does make me proud to sit out there, you know, when people are walking by and whatever. I did not know we were supposed to get this kind of rain today. It has literally been raining all day long. I was listening to Shaka Khan on repeat earlier, Through the Rain, or Through the Fire. Through the fire. Dun, 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 dun. I love all of that, like, up. Tanya Jean Applestein's calling. I'll call her back in a second. Tanya Jean Applestein, prettiest girl I've ever seen. Wonder what she's doing today. She's probably working. Do you know that one day that I was like driving around here and I said, oh my God, it looks like there's like a person that's running through that yard, or something that was running through. I didn't know what it was. It was like a horse or a coyote or something. And I drove by here, like when I drove by here the next time during the day, and I looked at what it was. Here, I want to see if I can see what it is. You guys will die when you see it. It's so funny. It's like just like a tree. Like, oh, here it is. It's these two little trees right here. Look at that. I thought that was a person running or something that one night. Do you remember that? That's called an imagination, when you're like scared of two little trees standing at the end of the driveway. Oh well. They have like a little obstacle course built there. Oh. Well, I just thought the weirdest thing. So there's like this little lake when I pass by. It's not a lake even. It's like probably the size of like 2 backyard pools, but it's like these people have this like little pond there that has like a fountain in the middle of it, and then it has like this like diving pit thing, and I've never seen anybody swimming out there. And I don't know why. This is me reading so much true crime, but I was like, what if they were like a serial killer and they like buried all of their bodies? Because like, well, I don't want to say what book it is. Well, the sequel to, I can say it, it doesn't matter, it's not going to ruin it for anybody. The sequel to The Girl Beneath the Sea, which is called Black Coral, this guy, like, he keeps all the bodies, like, in the bottom of this thing, and, like, he sinks them down in there. And I was like, what if that thing was just, like, filled with bodies down there and some serial killer lived there? I'm like, I need to stop reading the true crime, I think. You know what I mean? Anyway, all right, listen, I'm gonna get off here now and call Tanya Jean back. Tanya Jean Applestein, and then prettiest girl I've ever seen. Tanya Jean Applestein, prettiest girl I've ever seen. And then I'm gonna go do a review, and then I'm gonna go home and film a couple other videos and hope that I start feeling better from these allergies. So, yeah, that's it. Anyway, if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. I hope that you are having a magically amazing Wednesday. You've made it halfway through the week. And, I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya! Okay, I came back for one more I love you, but I also have to say, this is the weirdest thing. So I just went and did my review, and then I was talking to Tanya, and she said, have you seen the news? And I said, no. And she goes, they just announced, this is so weird, you guys. Apparently this happened at the same time that I was vlogging. They found a body in a retention pond close to where I was vlogging. Like, at the time I was vlogging and talking about those people's lake, they found a body in a retention pond, like right in that area that I was vlogging. Is that not the spookiest, scariest thing? Apparently they haven't identified the body or anything yet, but I was like, oh my God. Tanya was like, did you not hear about it on the news? It's everywhere. I said, no, when did it happen tonight? And she said, they just talked about it on the news. And I said, oh my God. I said, I was just like saying something in my vlog about how wouldn't it be so weird. She's like, oh my God. She's like, this is so sad and so creepy. I was like, that's so sad. So anyway, I just thought that was so weird that I was just saying that about that. I mean, it's not obviously that lake, but I was like, God, that's the weirdest thing. I just said something about that, and they were talking about that on the news. But anyway, so I had to share the sad, weird story of the day over here. But for those of you that would like to hear it, I just wanted to say, one more I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Be safe and be kind to one another. I love you. Bye. Love ya.